Welcome everybody to the 41st Millennium and our Warhammer 40,000 Dark Heresy first edition campaign that we are calling Hereticus. It has been a while since we last played. Our last session was cancelled for real life reasons, and so I thought I would start this session summarizing the various leads and you've acquired throughout your investigation, and so we have that relatively fresh in our memory. If I can find my document, that is, there we go. So to go way back to the beginning of your current investigation, you discovered during you'd basically gone out into the mid-hive of Hive Sabellus to, well, I as I remember it, to take in the sights and sounds of the place, to experience the hive itself. You'd only recently
Get to
arrived
know
at
the
Hive
neighborhood,
Sabellus.
basically.
Yeah, and while out and about in the mid-hive, you discovered that several street preachers were skirting dangerously close to heresy in their preachings. And so this became a focus for you guys, and it's basically what kicked off the investigation that you're currently doing. So while most of these heretical preachings were related to behavior that is anathema to holy terror, such as the wonderful thing that is knowledge and pleasure and all these things that all sorts of behavior that the ecclesiarchy might frown upon. The things that really caught your notice were distinct phrases such as lost palaces, forgotten gods, and towers of bone. These were phrases you picked up as you overheard these sermons. Your investigations led you to the Cathedral of the Winged Martyr in the lower mid-hive of Hive Sabellus. It is a massive cathedral frequented by the many workers and laborers in the mid-hive, and your initial inquiries yielded little more than an acknowledgement that the clergy there had indeed noticed these heretical street preachings. You then went back to report to your inquisitor, and before going down to the mid-hive again, and during the second round of investigations in the mid-hive, the cathedral became the focus as a throng of churchgoers fled from the place in a panic. And as you entered the church, you came upon the bishop of the cathedral of the Winged Martyr, apparently in the process of carving out his own ribs. And
Because, that's the sort of thing you do for a pleasant afternoon.
That is the sort of thing you do. Pleasant afternoon.
I mean, that's taking flagellation to an extreme, let's face it.
Yes, it really is. Anyway, you did manage to neutralize the bishop. He didn't put up a fight, really. And I think it was Medea and Tim who investigated the church. They basically ascended into the upper reaches of the church, and there they encountered another mad priest who's standing on top of some kind of metal construction with living people what's the word I'm looking for?
Bird is the word.
Bird is the word. Basically, with living people fused into this metal construction. This priest unchained the construction, and it tumbled down through the church and crashed onto the church floor. In the aftermath of this, you discovered a strange disc that seemed to float on its own accord, defying gravity. And you brought this with you, sensing obviously taint. What else? What else? You did some research in the library, and you found out that as an organization, as the Inquisition is wont to do, it had categorized various types of heresy, and this type, basically the spread of heresy through what appears to be normal sermons and preachings, was named a so-called Botham heresy. And you also realized that these types of heresies almost always originate in the higher social layers of society, meaning nobility, powerful merchants, misguided ecclesiarchs, etc., etc. It should also be mentioned that during your investigations down in the mid-hive, Tim followed a street preacher through the mid-hive to a cantina that was named the Screaming Wheel Cantina. There, Timotheus, he witnessed the execution of this street preacher by gangers wearing cherub-like masks. Achelon and Sister Francesca, meanwhile, apprehended a street preacher and brought him back to the Tricorn. During the trip to the Tricorn, they were attacked and shot out of the sky. They did survive the crash. Basically, the shuttle crashed into a nearby building, and they managed to defeat the enemy with the help of Medea and Tim. And back at the Tricorn, the prisoner was interrogated with the help of Master Surgeon Ansel Mons. What you learned from this street preacher was that that whoever he was associated with used some means to, as he said, go into his head, and that this hurt so bad. According to the prisoner, the phrases he used in his street preachings, those being lost palaces, forgotten gods, and towers of bone, according to him, they are rubbish. Simply things they made him say. As to who they were, the prisoner described men wearing masks and calling themselves the Babyfaces. He also mentioned that they operate out of a cantina named the Screaming Wheel Cantina. And he also mentioned that that he and the other street preachers preach heresy in return for monetary payment, and but he did seem genuinely afraid for his family's life. Apparently, the Babyfaces had threatened to kill them all, and they were paid 50 throne guild per sermon. He did provide a list of names of his fellow street preachers. He didn't do. We didn't handle this during the session, but basically this happens off screen as Ansel Mons finishes his torture of this guy. So a list has been compiled of with the names of all those fellow street preachers. Then you assaulted the Screaming Wheel Cantina, and after a an intense gunfight, you investigated the cantina. In a room underneath the place, you discovered yet another one of these strange gravity-defying items shaped like a triangle. This item was lodged in the mouth of an old woman, strapped to a weird chair. Sister Francesca attempted to extract the item. She succeeded, but she also noticed that the old woman was burned by her presence, basically indicating some kind of psychic presence within the old woman. When you re-entered the cantina itself, after having investigated the room underneath it, you were attacked by a witch. You brought this witch with you, and as you left the cantina, babyface gangers drove a truck into the building, severely injuring, I think, well, at least Acalon. Sorry. Sister Francesca and Tim were severely injured by this, and the building itself was destroyed. Apparently, some kind of explosive or something was contained in the truck. It should also be mentioned that during the assaults on the Screaming Wheel Cantina, one ganger attempted to flee through a hatch in the cantina's roof. You talked about this last session, and you reasoned that he must have been fleeing towards some kind of safe house or whatever. You haven't actually confirmed that such a place exists, but that was what you theorized at the time. Sister Francesca scanned every ganger in the Screaming Wheel Cantina, every dead ganger, and handed over the data. She performed the scans with her Auspex, then transferred the data to a data slate, which she handed over to Ansel Mons, and asked him to cross-reference with any existing data the Inquisition might have. It has yet to be completed when we begin the game or this session. But even without a list of names, you've determined that these must be of a high social status. Their physical fitness, their clothing, and the complete and utter lack of a trace of physical hard labor. Had they been laborers or something like that, they would show signs of it. During last session, Inquisitor Dex was brought to the same Medicae facilities in the Tricon that you guys were in. She was brought specifically to the Omega Chamber, which is an operating suite in the middle of these facilities, reserved exclusively for injured Inquisitors. Apparently she and some of her other acolytes, Trina included, had conducted their own off-planet investigations into strange gravity-defying geometric items. And it was during this investigation that the Inquisitor had been gravely injured. Trina told you that one of the geometric shapes had embedded itself into the Inquisitor's forehead. When we start this session, the Inquisitor is no longer fighting for her life. However, she is the item, the geometric shape is still embedded in her forehead, with sanctioned psychers working to remove it from her. It should also be mentioned that as you stood outside the Omega Chamber, Sister Francesca, you carried the triangle with you, the triangle you found underneath the cantina, and it started vibrating within the ammo pack you carried it in. You later handed over the ammo pack and the triangle to to Trina, as she currently acts in your Inquisitor's stead. Trina also sought him out, or sought, not him, but Accolon out in the library at some point, and told him that that some time ago, centuries ago, an exterminatus had been ordered for a planet named Heat in the Marcane Marshes here in the Calixis sector. And the reason for the exterminatus was 10 small geometric shapes which held enough power, it was feared, to potentially destroy an entire subsector, if not an entire sector. According to Trina, these same geometric shapes are the reason for the war on Piety of Seth being Accolon's home planet. Whoever has invaded the planet is apparently looking for at least one of these geometric shapes. Finally, and this may or may not be tangential to the investigation itself, but the witch you defeated in the Screaming Wheel Cantina was physically identical to Alvena Iriax, the psyche you extracted from the Helix facility during your first mission. So it was explained to you by Trina that some years ago the Inquisitor and Trina and some other acolytes were investigating a cult on the planet Brunt. This cult was basically cloning a psyche. And these clones, not only were they physically identical to each other, but they also, all of them, had the same psychic abilities that the original psyche had. And while this cult was destroyed and its facilities also were destroyed, some of the clones managed to escape. Alvena Iriax was one of them. She was later captured by the Inquisition. And the witch you guys fought in the cantina was another of these clones. So that's what you have so far. And if there's anything I've forgotten, or where I got the details wrong, or missed any details, please let me know.
I think that's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, I think so. But if you have no comments, then I think we might as well just dive right into the action. I wouldn't call it action, because when we start the session, at least the three of you are gathered in the Medicae facilities, chit-chatting. We had Accolon talk extensively about his background last time. But since Accolon's player is not here at the moment, he may join us later, he may not, depending on various real life stuff. I think it's been agreed that we would skip the rest of this cozy little get together you have in the Medicae facilities, and we'll return to that later. When Chris actually is with us. So with that said, let's assume that some time has passed. You've had your little powwow. I think it might actually make sense for us to say that enough time has gone by that Tim is back on his feet, and as is Sister Francesca, which I think we determined that 3 days was enough for Tim to be healed of his injuries.
Yeah, and it was a little shorter for Francesca because she wasn't quite as badly injured. But,
yes,
yeah,
and it's worth mentioning that mechanically it should take much longer than that, but I reasoned that because you're in the middle of the seat of power for the Inquisition in the entire sector.
Top-notch medical facility, basically.
Yep, exactly. So they know what they're doing. So let's assume that your time at the Medicae facility is over, and that you are now able to continue your investigations. And with that, yeah, take it away.
Well, I think being up and about again for the first time in days. Francesca is curious to see if Ansel Mons has come up with any kind of answer in the meantime, because I mean, obviously, he's had a few days to check what was on that. And I realize he's probably incredibly busy, but I might as well go and check.
Okay. Oh, there is one lead I actually forgot to mention, or I think I did. Let's see if I forgot it. So when you went down into the mid-hive the second time around, basically, when you investigated the church and you found this priest cutting out his own ribs, before you went down there, you were approached by a messenger, basically giving you a message from Trina. And the message was that the Inquisition had received notice of a nobleman within the hive who might be a person of interest. And Trina indicated that he might have some link to your current investigations. And she also gave you a name of this nobleman. Basically, his name is Lance Guljan. And at the time, you determined that the church was more important. I'm just mentioning so that you have all pieces of the puzzle that you have so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes. You go to see Ansel Mons. Well, as you said, he is busy. He is currently busy working. When you enter his little section of Inquisitor Dex's quarters, working on a chair, and as you enter his little domain, he looks up and smiles widely and says, the esteemed Sister Francesca.
Well, perhaps not so esteemed, but certainly better than I was a few days ago.
That is good to hear.
I'm not currently spilling any internal parts onto the floor. That's an improvement. Well, I just wanted to hear if by any chance you had managed to look into what I left here a few days ago, and I would fully understand if you haven't had time.
Oh, I must confess that my time has been mostly about the Inquisitor. And,
yeah, exactly.
But I have managed to compile a list of sorts. I have identified some of the people that you recorded pics of, and the list is not long, I'm afraid, but it is there. There are names and the houses they are affiliated with.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, she takes it when it is offered.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a look at it, obviously.
There are 3 names on the list, which obviously isn't a lot, but
three names make for 3 more names than we had a moment ago. So
yes, that is very true. So, interestingly enough, one of the names that she sees on the list is Guljan, which is the same name as the nobleman that Trina mentioned.
Yeah.
Some time ago now.
And that means he's.
Well, it's
that's the family name, right?
That's the family name.
So there's at least somebody from his family involved in some really seriously creepy shit here.
Yep.
All right. That's problematic, obviously, but Perhaps not so surprising.
Does Sister Francesca say this to Ansel, or?
Yes, yes, she does. She mentions that we have come across this particular. Oh, Gesundheit. We come across this particular family name once before, and that we had some. Let us just say we had some suspicions concerning this family, and she gives him the name of the person we came across before.
Yes.
And he says this at least confirms that this is a family that needs to be investigated far more thoroughly. As if it's not even, I mean, obviously having a single a heretic in a family is a serious matter in itself, but we can't be sure it's the same person, so
No.
it is clearly something that needs to be looked into very carefully.
Yes, I agree. And I should mention that the Guljans are not unknown to us.
Well, all the more reason.
Yes, exactly. I had the displeasure of, shall we say, work on a member of that household some time ago, and
I take it that was an unpleasant experience.
yes, it was. He was a mutant.
Well, that is. I mean, I had heard rumors, obviously, of certain upper echelons of the of important imperial households hiding that kind of thing, but obviously, one always hopes that it is incorrect.
Yes, in this case, it wasn't.
And it wasn't a stable strain, I take it. It was. I mean, obviously, there are such unfortunate creatures as ogrins and ratlings, but I take it this was not a stable strain of mutation.
It was not. It was. As far as I could tell, I examined the other members of this house as well, and there were no mutations to be found on any of them.
Okay. Well, in that case, I think maybe we should look into having. Well, it probably needs to be done somewhat delicately. I mean, I could certainly walk up there with an inquisitorial seal and an acolyte seal and a heavy flamer and look menacing, but I'm not sure we would get anything out of that.
Maybe not.
Anyway, I shan't disturb you further, and good luck with the Inquisitor.
Thank you.
And she turns around and leaves.
Sure. Meanwhile, Medea. So during the time where the others were in the Medici facilities being treated for their serious injuries, injuries by truck, we determined that since you were NPC sick, that Medea was spent her time with the drill abbot, the ecclesiarch, attached to the Inquisitor's retinue. Basically, he took care of your confessions, and the cleansing of your soul. You'd taken quite a lot of corruption, and so we determined that Medea spent her time with him. So my question to you is, what was that experience like for Medea? Basically, spending days with a member of the ecclesiarchy.
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's basically it would be akin to being told to sit down in a church with a Catholic priest in front of you,
Yes.
who for 3 days in a row insists that you pray and confess sins every few minutes.
Yes. And I'm mainly asking because in the past, at least that's my understanding, Medea hasn't been particularly happy about the idea uh, of the ecclesiarchy.
She doesn't understand it. There's a big difference.
Yeah. So the question then is, does she understand it now, having spent 3 days with this person?
No, because I don't understand it. So I don't think she would.
Okay. So for her, it's been 3 days of utter confusion and just nodding along to what this clergyman told her to do.
She's not stupid. She kind of wants to keep her head.
Well, he wouldn't have the authority to do anything about her head anyway.
No, but he could tell someone who could.
Yes, that's true. That's absolutely true. But after those 3 days in the
But
company,
I still don't know what kind of confessions he'd want. Confess? What?
Well, so the thing is, Medea is her soul is corrupted because you acquired some corruption points, and it is not really so much a matter of you confessing to something you didn't actually do as it is spending those 3 days in constant prayer, and there's probably also some kind of self-flagellation involved in this during these 3 days, and this clergyman trying to cleanse your soul through these prayers. And
It's also possible. This is just a guess, really, but it's possible with that much corruption because, as I remember, she rolled maximum, so she got 20 corruption points in one go.
No.
Wasn't it that much? How much was it?
I don't remember, but I have 14.
All right. Okay. Well, was it a single? Was it a 10 then? Yeah, because you had a few when we. Yeah, it was. Okay,
Right.
good. In any case, it's a lot extra, and it's quite likely with that much extra corruption that she's had weird thoughts that she can't recognize, very strange dreams and so on. And he, when he says confess, it might be a matter of actually sharing what those thoughts were, because in all likelihood that's a matter of some really icky chaos shit whispering in her ear.
Yeah, that's really a good point, because what is corruption really, and the idea that it puts some thoughts and dreams and voices in your head is that's a good way of representing this corruption. So yeah.
It can both affect
because I had no idea what it did, so I'm pretty sure that if nothing really happened, she would just be confess what? Yeah, I peed my bed. What?
It's a matter of corruption can do two things. It can wreck your body, or it can wreck your mind, or a combination thereof. If it wrecks your body, that's what leads to mutations, and we're not talking, relatively minor mutations like the one she's already got. We're talking about tentacles sprouting from her forehead.
That hasn't happened yet.
No, that hasn't happened yet. But that is what can happen if you get too much corruption, for example.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that corruption represents the great enemy, also better known as chaos, whispering hateful things in your ear when you're asleep, or even when you're awake. Suddenly you have strange thoughts that tell you that the empire, the Imperium is false, and the emperor is a corpse sitting on a golden throne, and that sort of really, really seriously heretical shit.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, and also impure thoughts in general, and those can really take whatever kind of shape we want them to take. It can be of the Slaaneshi kind, which means
really perverted and sexual.
Yeah, exactly, or extremely murderous, blood-filled rage could also be a thing. It can really manifest however we want it to manifest. As gamers. So, but yeah, that's basically how she spends.
Well, then,
3
yeah,
days.
she's been spending 3 days in complete confusion because she haven't tried having other thoughts in her head.
I imagine that's rather uncomfortable. But yeah, on that 3rd day, the drill abbot determines that the job is done, or rather, as well as it can be. Really, there's not much else he can do except to continue to keep an eye on her. And this is something he absolutely says to both Sister Francesca and to Tim and also to Akalon to keep a close eye on her, because the great enemy has touched her.
Oh, absolutely.
So the question then becomes, Medea, what does Medea do once she's been released from the chapel?
Didn't we just skip the 3 days or something?
Yes, we are basically we're where we are now. 3 days have gone by. Sister Francesca and Tim and Akalon have all been released from the medical facility, and you've been released from the chapel. So basically, I'm asking what Medea is doing at this point in time.
Probably walking about in a bit of a daze.
Cool.
That makes a certain amount of sense.
That makes all kinds of sense. Okay, what about Tim then?
Muttering softly to herself.
What is she muttering softly to herself?
Whatever the man has been shouting at her for 3 days.
Cool.
Yeah, that's probably stuck.
Yep.
Yeah, but at least that means that she by now probably knows at least a couple of prayers.
Yes.
The power of the Emperor compels you.
Yes, something to that effect. Cool. What's Tim doing?
I think initially he will have gone just to do, a routine shooting range. Is everything still working as it should? And then, when he has confirmed that it is, because I imagine nothing has changed.
No, nothing has changed. Yeah.
He will have gone to the quartermaster, and he'll have placed his long lass on the table, and he'll have said, I think I need you to improve my gear, because when I can shoot a guy with a clean headshot 3 times before he dies, I'm blaming my gear, not myself.
The Inquisitor sees something in you, so I think that assumption is a good one to make. That it's not you, but the equipment. Let me see what I can do. Well, we can, of course, recalibrate the weapon on the shooting range. But, well, I do have... I got a new shipment of munitions the other day.
Yeah.
And among them were some hotshot packs. Do you know what that is?
I've heard of them, but please.
They are quite effective. Basically, I won't bore you with the technical details, but they're basically one-use packs, and they pack a mean punch.
So they would potentially make 3 headshots into 1.
Yep. Potentially, yes.
That I can work with. How many do you have, and how many can I have?
I have 10, and since you're the only one of our Inquisitors acolytes who might need them and are here at the moment, I think you can have all 10.
And they're 1 shot.
They are one use, yes. You use them and you have to reload them. So, yes.
What else do you have?
Well, we do. I do frequently. I do frequently overcharge the last packs, or the charge packs. so I could give you some of those. It does mean that each pack will last, won't last as long or for as many shots, but the damage
Well, if I'll only
should be a bit greater.
So long as I'll need fewer shots, I suppose having fewer rounds is not that big a deal.
That is true. That is true. I currently have 2 overcharged packs if you want those.
Yes, please.
Sure. Let me go and get them. He goes into his into the armory and fetches some charge packs for you. So 10 hot shots and 2 overcharged packs.
Yay! Excellent.
That should definitely go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've heard about something that makes it easier to change between different kind of ammunition.
Yes, we some guardsmen use ammo selectors to switch between different types of ammunition. It's more common among solid projectile weapons, stoppers, etc. But I'll see if I can't find something for a long last.
How do they work?
Out of game, I think you.
Basically, it's that you have as I recall, it's a sideways clip where when you click a shifter on the side of it, it just switches back and forth between the different ammunition storages.
Basically, at the start of your turn, whenever it's your turn in combat, you can just choose which clip you're using from that round.
So I could potentially have 2 hotshot clips in, and then have 2 shots before I need to reload. Or
no,
yeah.
No, you still. What that would do would basically just mean that you wouldn't have to reload between clips. In this case, you still only have as many attacks as you normally have.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah. It's just meant that he could have 2 rounds in there and fire it twice before needing to reload.
Is that what it would do?
Well, are you thinking about the hot shots?
Yeah.
Yes, they only have 1 shot each.
Yeah.
So
You
put in 2.
Yep. You would be able to do that. Yep.
Excellent.
Absolutely. At least that's how I interpret this modification.
It's much nice. Very useful.
Well, if he has one of those and knows how to attach it.
He doesn't have one, but he'll see if he can get one.
I'll return later then.
Yes. So the thing is, on Scintilla, the planet you're on, there is a city. It's not technically a hive city. It's much smaller than that, but it's called Gunmetal City, and they produce all kinds of fun stuff there. So primarily for the Imperial Guards that Scintilla sends out into.
There are a number of regiments from there,
Yes.
and they produce their own guns.
Exactly. But that's not to say that the Inquisition can't say, yoink, this one is ours.
Cool.
So yeah, the quartermaster will absolutely see if he can.
I would certainly love to see some clerk in a what's it called, in a munitions factory say no to an inquisitorial requisition.
Yep.
Say hello to your new career as a servo skull asshole.
Yep. Yeah. So when the Inquisition wants something, they just
typically
take
get it. Yes.
Yep. Certainly, it's certainly not worth wasting your life for.
God no, definitely not.
But yeah, he'll see if he can acquire one from Gunmetal City. So you won't have it now, but it should be available to you shortly.
Tim, thanks so muchly. And so how is it the practice range works? We don't use any ammunition because what? It's simulated, or?
No, there are absolutely live fire ranges for you to use.
Oh, it's mostly he would like to practice with this new kind of clip, but he doesn't want to use them before he gets to an actual mission.
Oh, that is possible. It is possible for him to train with. Well, so the thing is, the quartermaster can absolutely find a few more hot shots if you want to train with them. But let's say 2 shots. But that should also be enough for Tim to get some kind of idea of how to use those shots. So he can scrounge up another couple of shots for you if you want to train.
So I can practice.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then that's what he'll do.
Okay, cool. Cool. Who is-
See, this should probably help a lot.
Yeah,
with-
at least
with
against
the-
at least against heavily armored targets.
yes.
They have to be wearing some pretty serious stuff before I mean, since it's not fragmentation, you will shoot through flak armor with that.
Yes.
I should probably write down the damages just to be sure. So what is the
Yes.
damage for the hot shot?
For the hot shot, it's an additional. What did I say? 1, 2,
+1.
or +1?
It was +1, and
Yes.
the armor penetration becomes 4.
Yes, and you roll 2 damage dice, and you take the higher of the 2.
So +1, it's just flat damage bonus, yes?
Yes, +1 is a flat damage bonus.
And armor pen is 4.
Yes.
And roll twice.
Roll twice. Yes.
And what about the overcharged one?
The overcharge adds 1 to your damage, and then halves the clip.
Cool.
And that is also a flat 1 to your damage.
Thank you.
Ish. Okay, well, what do you want to do then? And that's to the group as a whole, not just Tim.
Don't know about the others, but our sister of battle at least wants to use the library. Because she wants to know more about this family and their history of heresy. Because if there is, Ansel Mons has just told her about one such situation, but if there is an extended example or an extended history of heresy in this one noble family, then there might be, at least in the inquisitorial archives, there might be some reference as to how the hell they keep getting out of trouble with it, because that's serious shit, and that is specifically the kind of information she's looking for.
Okay. So you do that. What kind of relevant skill do you have? Do you have heresy?
Yes, she does have. Just see. I don't think I have it at +10, but I do have. Forbidden Law Heresy, yes.
Okay. So of course this takes a while for her to use the library. Would you roll that for me, please, with a +30 because you're using the library.
That's very nice. That's nice.
Oh, that is cool. So Joan, I have a question for you because I don't know the answer to this. How old is the Inquisition? Do you know that?
Oh God, yes. The Inquisition is thousands of years old. It is from before the Thorian heresy, and the Thorian heresy is about 5,000 years before. I believe it was created almost immediately after the ecclesiarchy was created, basically originally literally as an inquisition to stamp out aberrant thought in when the church was still new.
Okay.
And then it's kind of expanded its duties.
Just a bit.
Just a teensy weensy little bit since then.
Yes.
Yes, maybe, but I believe that is the case at least. So it is very old, and of course, there's also, I mean, there's the question. It will almost certainly be older than the noble family itself, unless, of course, it can trace its history all the way back to, the Age of Strife. But that's rare. That's very rare.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. So, what you do learn is that the Gul'jan family, and you learn this by poring over various reports and from other inquisitors and from Dex herself, and so you learn that the Gul'jan family is and has always been a minor noble house on Scintilla. It's
Right.
not one of the major power players. However, there are two instances where the Gul'jans have been of interest to the Inquisition.
Okay.
The first one, the most recent one, is the mention of this mutant.
Yes.
Basically, the person, the individual that Ansel Mons was in contact with, did in fact sprout tentacles out of his back specifically.
Ick.
Yes, and
In that case, well, that means if Ansel Mons was the one who was in contact with him, obviously, that would also mean that is in quite recent history.
Yes, it is. The record is let's say 3 years old, and the other part is the other mention is that a Chris we have with us?
Yes, it is.
Yay! A Chris we have with us! Yay! Whoop whoop! Cool.
We still in the first part, or
Yes.
Yes, we're. I'm just wrapping up some research Sister Francesca is doing.
sure.
The other mention is quite old, a bit more than a millennium old, and basically a member of the family, and this also means that the family itself is quite old. But a member of the family was the person who tipped off the Inquisition about 10 strange artifacts that had some kind of power, and started the entire investigation back then, over a millennium ago.
Yeah, it would seem that whatever that is, it left something lingering in the family. That would at least make some sort of very twisted sense.
Yes.
All right, that is pretty much all she needs for the time being. Of course, she makes she takes some copies of some of these things because useful, and she also makes sure to make an entry of this most recent edition of another one of these Gul'jan families being involved in heresy, and this being of the extremely violent kind. Obviously, a mutant is bad enough in and of itself, but here we're talking about someone actively involved in a very violent cult.
Yes.
And a direct attack on inquisitorial agents. That's serious. So that is entered into the record, and then, well, maybe we should take our first break.
Yes, I think we will. So, yeah, we'll be right back.